Back. So overnight, the Senate GOP passed a $340 billion budget blueprint for Trump's agenda. And I guess it feels a little bit crazy because the Republican controlled Senate passed this $340 billion budget specifically to fund Trump's priorities, including immigration enforcement at 175 billion, military expansion at 150 billion, and energy production. The bill passed 52 to 48 after a 10-hour, quote, vote-a-rama, during which Democrats introduced 33 amendments, all of which were rejected. And Rand Paul, the Republican from Kentucky, was the only Republican to vote against any of it. The House GOP is preparing its own competing budget, which includes a $4.5 trillion tax cut and a $4 trillion debt limit hike, both of which are endorsed by Trump. Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican from South Carolina, defended the bill as essential for border security funding, positioning it as a backup plan if the House proposal fails. Democrats attempted to block tax breaks for the wealthy if Medicaid was cut, but this was narrowly rejected, 49 to 51. Immigration czar Tom Homan warned that deportation operations were, quote, out of money, driving the demand for more funding. Future cuts to social programs. The House budget seeks $2 trillion in reductions to health care and other programs to offset the $4.5 trillion in tax cuts. Now, first of all, this contradicts the GOP's fiscally conservative claims. They frequently argue against government spending, yet they approved $340 billion in new spending while simultaneously pushing $4.5 trillion in tax cuts. Okay. Rand Paul criticized the bill, arguing true fiscal conservatives should reallocate existing funds rather than create new spending packages. All right, fair point. It prioritizes the wealthy over social programs. The House version includes tax cuts for the wealthy, while the Senate rejected protections for Medicaid and other social programs. Schumer's amendment, which prevented tax cut if Medicaid was reduced, was voted down. There's a lack of bipartisanship and transparency. The vote-a-rama process, rush debate, limit discussion on key issues. Senators voted strictly along party lines, showing no serious effort to negotiate or compromise. Trump has direct influence over legislation. He personally endorsed the House bill, pressuring Republicans to shape policy around his demands rather than economic sustainability. And Graham's remarks suggest that Senate Republicans are following Trump's directives rather than developing independent fiscal strategy. And there's huge debt limit hike hypocrisy. The House GOP proposal includes $4 trillion debt ceiling increase despite years of Republican opposition to debt hikes under Democrats. Previously, Republicans attacked Democrats for increasing the debt limit, yet they are now doing the same to fund Trump's priorities. This budget really exposes the GOP's fiscal hypocrisy, preaching spending cuts while expanding the deficit to fund Trump's immigration crackdown, military expansion, and tax breaks for the wealthy. The rejection of amendments protecting social programs underscores who benefits most from this bill: corporations and the wealthy, not working class Americans. So while the budget prioritizes the tax cuts and military spending, it comes at the expense of social programs that millions rely on. The House's broader budget package seeks $2 trillion in reductions to health care assistance programs threatening Medicaid, SSDI, and SNAP, and other safety nets. Tax cuts for the wealthy, not workers. The $4.5 trillion tax cuts overwhelmingly benefit high-income earners, leaving working-class Americans with little relief as the cost of living rises. No investment in jobs or wages. The budget fails to invest in worker protection, wage increases, or job training, leaving disabled and unemployed individuals with fewer opportunities for financial stability. The debt limit hike could justify future austerity. By raising the debt ceiling by $4 trillion, Republicans may later push for even deeper cuts to social programs, further harming those in need. And this budget overwhelmingly benefits billionaires like Elon Musk, while ordinary Americans see little to no relief. Massive tax cuts for the ultra rich. The House version includes that 4.5 trillion in tax cuts disproportionately favoring the wealthiest Americans and large corporations, specifically like Tesla and SpaceX. Musk, who previously paid little in federal taxes due to loopholes, stands to save billions under these cuts, corporate benefits without worker protections. While Musk's companies receive tax breaks and government contracts, the budget fails to include worker protections, leaving employees at Tesla and SpaceX vulnerable to union busting, unsafe conditions, and stagnant wages. There's no limit on government subsidies. So again, I'll use SpaceX and Tesla. They've already received billions in government funding, yet this budget does nothing to ensure accountability or reinvestment in workers, instead prioritizing military and border security spending, which would directly benefit SpaceX through defense contracts. Rand Paul's iconic critique, even Senator Rand Paul criticized the bill, sarcastically suggesting that if Republicans were truly financially conservative, they'd take the savings from Elon Musk and Dogecoin rather than increase spending by 340 billion. His statement highlights how the GOP claims to oppose government spending, except when it benefits billionaires. So the good thing is that the Senate has only passed a budget resolution, which is basically a blueprint for future spending. And here's what still needs to happen. The House needs to pass its own version, but that includes even bigger tax cuts and spending shifts. The two chambers must reconcile their differences, meaning the Senate and the House need to agree on a final version, and a final bill has to be passed and signed by Trump. Nothing is official until both chambers approve the final legislation and Trump signs it into law. So this is a huge step. It's scary. It's bad. We know it's going to go through because that's what's been happening. But it's not law yet. And there's still room for debate, amendments, and potential opposition, especially if, say, public outrage grows. That would help a great deal. So thank you for listening to my rant and my unpacking of this ridiculous budget blueprint that puts it right out there for anybody that is questioning who this government is for. It is cutting out people like me that relies on several of the programs being messed with to pay for the tax break for Elon Musk specifically. So, yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for being present. Thank you for thinking critically, staying engaged. Do your research. I love you. Bye.